Mothers are the queens of the castle, but let's be real, it's not all ball gowns and glass slippers.
On this podcast, we're giving you a peek behind the throne at the privilege and responsibility of wearing the crown. My name is Helen Hope Kimbrough, and I'm a proud wife and mom of 2 adult sons.
And I'm Charlitta Hatch, a proud wife, married to my high school sweetheart, and a proud mom to 2 little ones. Get ready as we share jewels with each other
and you around all things connected to motherhood. Hello, everyone. Our next topic for today will be navigating careers and changing careers. And I feel like this is a good topic to cover, specifically as moms who are balancing motherhood and careers, moms who are stay-at-home moms, because I've been that as well multiple times. And I just feel like it's just something that we should, kind of bring to light. And for this conversation, I really think Charlitta is the expert on this one, because I'm being honest here. I just feel like I learned so much from you. And I hope I don't get emotional. She won't, but I know I will. Because just how she navigates, motherhood and career and being a community leader and servant. I mean, it's just amazing to me. And I'm sometimes awed by all the things that you do in multiple ways. And I'm sure other people are awed too, especially people who actually know you and see you like in the space of how you do all of these things. And I just got to give you your flowers right now. I got to say kudos, because it's absolutely amazing.
and also a messing. Okay? It's a new word, a messing. So it's not easy. And there's a lot of help. But one thing I would say that you said that I think, just so everybody here say 2 things. One, I think whether you're a stay-at-home or working outside the home, I definitely believe all moms are working 24/7. In or out of the home,
yes.
Right? And so while we might focus a little bit more for me is outside of the home, I love that you'll be able to bring us the inside the home perspective, because I think that one, there's no stopping at all.
I agree.
There's no breaks.
Yeah.
The other thing for me is I don't believe in balance. And there's a term that is used called WorkLife Integration.
Okay.
And I'm really big on that term. I think balance would say that everything is from 9 to 5, I'm working. And I'm actually not a wife or a mom from 9 to 5. And we know that to be false.
Mm-hmm.
And then at 5, I cut it off right then and there. No laptop, no email, no internet, no text messages from work. And I am a mom and a wife after 5. And our society is just not set up that way. And even when I talk to my sister, who is about 10 years younger, I think she's like, I'm out of balance. I'm out of balance. And I'm like, you know what? When you get to go to the doctor during the workday, or, when you get to go take a moment to go to your kid's school during the workday, I think it's, how do you look at everything holistically? I used to measure myself by day and say, was I a good mom today? Did I do what I was supposed to do at work today? Now I've kind of stepped back and say for the week and say, there are some days where I'm actually not a really good mom.
Yeah.
Right? Now I have my kids loved and protected and they're safe, whether they're with their dad or with my mom. But I may or may not have seen my kids that day. But I killed it at work. Killed it. Like, slayed all the dragons. And the next day, I'm mom of the year. And I am making apple bread and doing homework and putting the kids in the bed and washing hair. And it's okay. And I think we just feel like there's this standard of which we have to be all the things to everybody every single day.
And excellent at it.
And I have just really freed myself to say that I'm not going to be able to do it all every day. And I'm going to do what I think is important. And I actually was having a conversation with my son, and I think it goes back to, one of our previous episodes about helping to narrate their life and tell them what's happening. And I was going to a conference, and he said, is that conference more important than my soccer game?
Yeah.
And I said, no. I said, but
Was that a gut punch to you when you heard the words?
I was actually shocked.
Okay.
So not really super emotional because again, it's not that, and there is no judgment for those that are doing this. But when I'm not with my children, it's not that I am. I mean, there are some girls trips as y'all heard on previous episodes. So I'm not going to say that, but most of the time, it's something that I do think is good or important work that I also try to incorporate my children into wherever I can. But I was happy to tell him, no, this is not more important than your soccer game, but we all have important things in this family. And for your soccer game today, you'll not only have your dad there, you'll have your sister there and your grandparents. And mommy will be at the next one. And I then explained to him what this conference was, what mommy was going to learn there, and how it was going to help our family, but also help other families. And I don't know if he'll get it, but I think just being able to like help him see that it is more than just you. And recently I went to the mountains with some girlfriends to do some work and uninterrupted work time. We were talking about just motherhood and all the things. And I had to just say, I realized after the birth of my son that that was not just all I wanted, was to mother and that the center of my life. With my mom, we are her life. And we to this day are still her life. We are everything for her. I don't want that life. And it feels really awkward to say it out loud because people think that you're supposed to have your fulfilling, your calling, your joy, your everything in mothering. And whereas mothering, I think, birthed a new version of me. Yeah. I don't want that to just be my defining moment. And so I really fight to not get sucked in to mothering solely and not creating my own identity. So how did you navigate like the different ebbs and flows coming in and out of the workforce and like navigate all of those things?
Yeah. And I appreciate your honesty and you sharing that because you have to live your truth too. And that's what you're deciding to do. You got to live your truth. I would say for me, like I think I mentioned in season 1, that because my older son was sick, that changed the dynamics of me staying in the workforce. And, graduating college, you have like these dreams that, I'm going to elevate, I'm going to be a top executive, I'm going to be all of these things. And then you have a child, they're sick, they're not getting well. I don't have family support. It's just me and my husband. I can't afford an au pair. I can't afford some of the things that a lot of other moms could. And, being 29 at the time. So that whole dynamic changed for me. And I was that person. So it was difficult to kind of say, wow, how do you, move from a human resources professional to just being a stay-at-home mom? But at that point, my whole sole focus was making certain that my son was healthy and could receive the services that he needed to receive and that I could be that person that could provide that. I have another dear friend who ended up having to make us the same choice due to her son being diagnosed with autism. And she became just a vicious and fiery person just to make certain that he received all the things that he needed at that time. And I remember her husband, he's like, when do you think she's going to go back to work? Or my husband, when do you think you're going to go back to work? And it's like, we can't think about that right now. We have other things that are taking precedence over work. And you know what? We could bring someone else in here at this moment in time, but would they be as devout in making certain that our kids receive these kind of services that they need? I think not. And so with that message, and now looking, retrospectively, now they're like, wow, I mean, yeah, you guys really did the work. I mean, you guys really put yourselves in there because at that point, that was most important. And I saw women, specifically white women, who would leave the workforce 12 years, 15 years, and they would come back and they would be vice presidents of organizations. I was like, now, how are you gone like 15 years and you're a vice president? Now, some of that is privilege. I'm just going to put it on the table because that doesn't work for everyone. Some people are also having to go into some of these work programs now. I think a lot of the financial institutions are, if you've been out of the workforce for a while, we have these programs that we can develop your skills and you can come back. So those things are returning, and I feel like that's important for people to know. But when I saw it firsthand, I knew that I could come back, and I knew that I could navigate a career that I wanted to. Probably not in human resources, because human resources takes a lot of time, which is why I ended up going into pharmaceutical sales, because I needed the flexibility. When I did decide to go back to work, I need more flexibility with my son. And so that ended up occurring, and started out part-time before going full-time, just to see if it was something that I wanted to do long-term. And it ended up working, for several years as a career while I was being a mom to my older son, and then later to my younger son.
And I think one of the things that you touched on is that things are seasonal. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, I don't know if it's just women or what, but everything just feels like it's such a life-changing, permanent decision. And I remember when I made the decision to leave my previous employer to come to my current employer, and I didn't even realize how much of my identity was wrapped up into my previous employer in such a very unhealthy way that I had did to myself. And it's like the way they said your performance was defined like who you were as a person, as quality, right? And trying to climb that ladder because there was an up or out model there. So you had to get promoted every couple of years in order to keep your job. And so doing that was just like everything that you knew to work for in that type of career. And so when I was trying to determine whether or not I wanted to leave, I knew that I wanted to be have a career, and I felt that you should be able to have a career and take your kid to school. Mm-hmm. This is before the pandemic. I was traveling Monday through Thursday, and I couldn't see a path of, particularly also being a mother of a Black son, where you can outsource being present and engaged and available even in preschool. And so I went to therapy of like, what does it look like for me to actually leave this job and put in my notice? That's how you know it was like a really big part of my identity in life, because I'm like, who am I saying I am if I change this career that I love for a baby, right? Like that was like, so I'm like, I had to be honest. I actually judged women at work who did that, thinking they're just not committed. They're just not dedicated.
There's a lot of judgment from.
I didn't realize I was judging until I became the person that felt judged. And I was like, oh, this is what judgment feels like.
And it's also been those women who come back and say, you know what, I apologize.
That was me.
I apologize.
I did. I had to apologize to a lot of my friends because I didn't realize I was judging them, but I was judging them. Mm-hmm. But what I learned in therapy was that every decision can be modified.
Yes.
And so I leave today, it doesn't work out, you have good reputation, you can go back. But you don't have to make everything so daunting. And that moment really has also liberated me in ways, even as we've talked about, choosing a school for your child and all of that. Hey, you pick a kindergarten, it doesn't work, move first grade. Move second, you can move every year. I mean, it's not life-changing. You pick a college, you can transfer. Mm-hmm. You move to a neighborhood, you don't like it, you can sell your house. They may not be easy. There may be some financial implications to it. There's a journey. Maybe you move jobs too much, you might have to take a step back, but you can do it.
Yeah.
And take the weight and the burden off feeling like everything is permanent. So if for your family, even for me, if for my family, if my kids need me to leave work, change jobs, I did that already, right? And I would do it again. That doesn't mean that I want to do it, right?
Yeah.
But I know that I can do it,
yeah.
and I also know, to your point, that it's not permanent.
Yes.
And I think that's very freeing. I also think, as you're thinking about just navigating the career life journey and kind of who you want to show up, I read this article, and I think having a son first just has also defined me in different ways, that you want to show your son as you're raising him and prepares him for his wife.
Yes.
So I never want such a patriarchal son that thinks that his mom is not able to do things outside of him and that her job is to serve him. And so in doing that, it's like, being able to tell a 6-year-old, you actually are not the only person in this house that has things they like and that they want to do and that have passions, right? Your passion is soccer. Mine are Black children. I mean, I'm not going to judge whose passions here, but be able to have that conversation and let him know, because I also think men play a role in allyship for moms, particularly in the workplace. And both of us have raised and are raising sons that should be those allies.
Yes.
And they will learn it from us. And I challenge my husband often to help him to understand, it's not just daddy that works, because there's this narrative that only daddy works in our house.
Yeah.
That's already curated. He's like, daddy works, you just have meetings, right? And so even that, right, even that nuance is like, no, mommy works, mommy contributes, we both pay for things, all of that.
Yes.
Even at 6, where, and I tell my husband, I'm like, it's important that you actually tell him that. Like, go ahead and have this conversation. And I'm watching you have this conversation. So I want to see exactly how you navigate it, how much mommy brings to this table.
Yes, we are building this table together.
Right.
Yes. No, I agree. I mean, I just love the fact that you are having like these conversations early, but you're right. It's important to do that. And I think early on, just like I was that expressive kid, I mean, I'm an expressive mom too. I think my kids know that I will go to bat for them, but they also know that, wow, she did change careers so that she could have more flexibility, to keep us at the forefront, to be there and to be available. But my husband was also there. And again, it was just the two of us. So literally we have relied on each other all throughout, and we've had to. And so thankfully he had a flexible schedule as well. And if I couldn't show up someplace, then I know that he could show up someplace. Or a grandparent could come from out of town and say, you know what, we can be there if you guys are unable to be available or to be there. So I also love the fact that you brought in that community where you can be a community as a family. You can be a community as friends. And so that they know that it's more people that's in your circle that you can have a support system from. I feel like that's so important.
Yeah, and I think the older that your kids get, you want them to have different trusted relationships with folks. So if for a reason they don't come to you, they're surrounded by people that can.
Play cousins, uncles, aunts, all of those things.
As women, there's this book called Becoming the CEO of YOU Inc., and it is written by the first female partner at Accenture. And part of the book, she talks about how women at work are so dynamic, process improvement, outsource all the things, and can tell you exactly where your process has inefficiencies. But at home, we can't see it. We feel like it has to be us. I have to be the one to make lunch. I have to be the one that cooks every day. I have to be the one that cleans every day. I have to pick out all the clothes.
Not me.
Well, and we do that because I think society has this role, but then we also don't, we feel like this value to our family from those services, when ultimately I think kids need time.
Yes.
right? And so you may not get quality time every day. You just need to eat, right? It's kind of like even that conversation about the breast versus the, the bottle. Like fed is best.
Yeah.
Whether I cook it, your dad cooks it, or McDonald's, you're eating.
Yes.
And being able to free yourself from some of those standards, I think also allows me to unlock.
Yeah.
Because I'm not trying to have a clean house every day.
Yeah.
I want the house clean every week or so, but every single day, that's not going to happen. Every single day, my kids don't have a home cooked meal.
Yeah.
Right? I don't have a home cooked meal every day. And I think that's okay.
Yeah.
And I think that creates resiliency. It creates independence. It creates the ability that their dad can do rotisserie chicken and steamables. And that is awesome. And it's okay. So
No, I agree.
So as we kind of think about, I think this is an ongoing topic. As society evolves, I think women evolve. I think mothering evolves.
Yes.
And we have to
And we are evolving.
And we are evolving with all of those things. So we have to give ourselves space and grace to figure out, what does this phase of life demand from us?
Yep.
How does my work and my personal life fit into that? And then what do we do going forward? And who do I need around me to be the best version of myself for myself, and therefore for my kids?
Yes, I agree.
So with that, I hope y'all found this conversation pretty insightful. I love talking about work and life and motherhood and all the things.
You also mentioned work-life integration. So that's a new term that we have to put into play here.
That is. We can make it all work, blend it all up like Helen soup, okay? And so with that, be sure to let us know what you're thinking. Do you subscribe to balance or integration? Anywhere you listen to us for the Behind the Throne podcast, be sure to like, follow, comment, and subscribe. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Behind the Throne podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and comment below with your feedback. Check out future episodes from us as we discuss motherhood from babies to adults.